Have you ever heard of a ship that was found drifting across the Atlantic Ocean, perfectly intact, its cargo untouched, its food still on the table, and yet not a single person was left on board? It sounds like the beginning of a horror movie, but this is a true story that has puzzled historians, sailors, and investigators for more than 150 years. The name of that ship was the Mary Celeste. Even today, no one knows what happened to the captain, his family, or the crew. They simply disappeared without leaving behind a single confirmed answer. There were no signs of a violent struggle, no evidence of piracy, and no bodies were ever found. The mystery begins in the year 1872. The Mary Celeste was a merchant brigantine built to carry cargo across the Atlantic Ocean. She was considered a reliable vessel, and although she had changed owners several times during her life, she remained strong enough for long ocean voyages. For one important journey, the ship was placed under the command of Captain Benjamin Briggs, an experienced and highly respected sailor. He was known for being careful, intelligent, and deeply religious. Fellow captains trusted him, and his crew respected his leadership. This voyage was different from most others because Captain Briggs was not traveling alone. He brought his wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia, with him. Their young son stayed behind with relatives so he could continue his education. The crew consisted of 7 experienced sailors. None of them had a known criminal background, and every one of them had spent years working at sea. Everything suggested this would be another routine voyage. On November 7, 1872, the Mary Celeste departed from New York Harbor carrying more than 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol bound for Genoa, Italy. At first, everything appeared normal. The weather was favorable, the winds pushed the ship steadily across the Atlantic, and Captain Briggs regularly recorded the ship's position in the official logbook. Days passed peacefully. Far away, another merchant ship named the Dei Grazia was also sailing toward Europe. Its captain, David Morehouse, happened to be a longtime friend of Benjamin Briggs. Neither captain knew their ships would soon become connected forever in one of history's greatest mysteries. Nearly a month after leaving New York, on December 4, 1872, the crew aboard the Dei Grazia noticed a ship behaving strangely in the distance. At first, nothing seemed unusual. But as they watched more carefully, they realized something was terribly wrong. The ship moved unpredictably. Its sails were damaged. No one appeared on deck. No one answered their signals. Captain Morehouse ordered his crew to move closer. As they approached, they read the ship's name painted on the stern. Mary Celeste. Captain Morehouse immediately recognized it. He knew his friend Benjamin Briggs should have been commanding that vessel. But something felt deeply unsettling. The ship was still floating. It had not sunk. It had not crashed. It simply drifted silently across the ocean as if everyone aboard had vanished into thin air. A small boarding party climbed onto the deck. The silence was overwhelming. No footsteps. No voices. No signs of life. They searched every part of the vessel. The captain's cabin was empty. Sarah Briggs and little Sophia were gone. Every crew member had disappeared. Yet almost everything remained exactly where it should have been. Personal belongings were still inside the cabins. Clothing had been left behind. Money and valuables had not been stolen. The cargo of industrial alcohol was almost completely untouched. Food supplies were still available. Fresh drinking water remained on board. Even the crew's smoking pipes and everyday items suggested that whatever had happened suddenly. There were no bloodstains. No bullet holes. No signs of a fierce fight. No evidence of pirates. Only an eerie silence that stretched across the empty ship. Then the investigators noticed something even stranger. The ship's only lifeboat was missing. The final entry in the captain's logbook was dated several days earlier, placing the Mary Celeste hundreds of miles away from the location where she had finally been discovered. What had happened during those missing days? Why would an experienced captain abandon a ship that was still capable of sailing? And if everyone escaped using the lifeboat? Why was no trace of any of them ever found? Those questions would soon ignite one of the greatest maritime mysteries the world has ever known. As news of the abandoned ship spread across the world, people demanded answers. The Mary Celeste was safely sailed to Gibraltar, where officials immediately launched a full investigation. They believed there had to be a logical explanation. Ships did not simply lose every person on board without leaving evidence behind. Investigators carefully examined every corner of the vessel. They expected to find signs of mutiny, piracy, or murder. Instead, they found something completely different. The ship itself was still seaworthy. There was some water inside the hull, but not nearly enough to sink the vessel. Experienced sailors agreed that this amount of water was common after weeks at sea and posed no immediate danger. The cargo remained almost entirely untouched. More than 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol were still in place, although a few barrels appeared to be empty. At first, investigators suspected theft, but further inspection revealed that those barrels had been made from a different type of wood that was known to leak over time. Nothing suggested that anyone had stolen the cargo. The crew's belongings were still neatly stored in their cabins. Jewelry, money, navigation equipment, and personal items remained exactly where they should have been. If pirates had attacked the ship, why would they leave behind everything valuable? That theory quickly began to fall apart. Others believed the crew had mutinied against Captain Benjamin Briggs. But those who knew him found the idea difficult to accept. Briggs had earned a reputation as a calm, fair, and respected captain. There had never been reports of serious conflict between him and his crew. Even more importantly, if a mutiny had taken place, where had everyone gone afterward? There was no blood. No damaged cabins. No broken weapons. No evidence that violence had ever occurred. The mystery only grew deeper. Then investigators focused on one important clue. The ship's lifeboat was missing. This suggested that Captain Briggs and everyone else had willingly left the Mary Celeste. But why would an experienced captain abandon a ship that was still floating safely? One possible answer came from the cargo itself. The ship was carrying industrial alcohol, a highly flammable substance capable of producing dangerous fumes. Some experts proposed that leaking barrels may have filled part of the ship with invisible alcohol vapor. If Captain Briggs smelled those fumes, he may have feared that even a tiny spark could trigger a massive explosion. To protect his family and crew, he might have ordered everyone into the lifeboat while keeping the ship attached with a long rope until the danger passed. It sounded reasonable. But there was one serious problem. No explosion had ever occurred. The Mary Celeste showed no signs of fire. No burn marks. No damaged deck, nothing that proved such an event had happened. If the crew had temporarily left the ship, what caused them to lose it forever? Some historians believe rough weather may have snapped the rope connecting the lifeboat to the ship. Once separated, the powerful Atlantic currents could have carried the empty ship away while the helpless lifeboat disappeared into the endless ocean. Without sails. Without supplies. And without any chance of catching the drifting vessel again. It was a heartbreaking possibility. Yet no lifeboat was ever found. No bodies washed ashore. No confirmed trace of Captain Briggs, his wife Sarah, little Sophia, or the 7 crew members ever appeared. It was as though they had vanished from the face of the earth. As the years passed, the mystery became even more famous. Newspapers began publishing dramatic stories. Writers invented terrifying details that had never existed. Some claimed dinner was still warm on the table. Others said cups of tea were waiting to be finished. Many even reported signs of panic and violence. But when historians checked the original investigation records, they discovered that many of those famous details were completely fictional. The real mystery was already disturbing enough. It never needed to be exaggerated. And yet, even after removing every myth and every false newspaper story, One haunting question still remained. If Captain Briggs truly ordered everyone to leave the ship, what frightened one of the most experienced captains on the Atlantic so badly that he chose the uncertainty of the open sea over the apparent safety of the Mary Celeste? For more than a century and a half, researchers, historians, and maritime experts have continued searching for the truth. Every few years, a new theory appears. Some sound convincing. Others seem almost impossible. One of the most widely accepted explanations is that Captain Briggs believed the ship was in immediate danger. A faulty sounding rod may have made him think the vessel was taking on far more water than it actually was. Combined with alcohol fumes escaping from leaking barrels, he may have feared that the ship could explode or sink at any moment. Faced with what seemed like an impossible decision, he chose to protect his wife, his young daughter, and his crew by ordering everyone into the lifeboat. Perhaps he intended to stay close to the ship until the danger had passed. But the Atlantic Ocean is unpredictable. A sudden gust of wind, a powerful current, or a snapped towline could have separated the lifeboat from the Mary Celeste forever. The ship continued sailing without anyone aboard, while the people who abandoned her slowly disappeared into the endless sea. Many historians believe this is the most realistic explanation. Yet there is one problem. There is absolutely no evidence proving it happened that way. Not a single witness. Not a single body. Not a single confirmed piece of the missing lifeboat has ever been recovered. That uncertainty has allowed far more mysterious theories to survive. Some believe the crew encountered a massive rogue wave that forced them to abandon the ship in panic. Others suggest an underwater earthquake or seaquake created violent conditions that convinced Captain Briggs the vessel was moments away from disaster. A few have even pointed toward strange magnetic disturbances or unusual weather phenomena that sailors of the 19th century could not explain. Then come the stories that captured the public imagination. Ghost ships. Sea monsters. The legendary Kraken. The mysterious Bermuda Triangle. Even though the Mary Celeste was never anywhere near the Bermuda Triangle, countless books and television shows connected the two simply because people love mysteries that defy explanation. Some even suggested alien abduction. These ideas have no credible evidence behind them, but they continue to keep the legend alive. Perhaps that is why the Mary Celeste refuses to fade into history. It is not just an abandoned ship. It is a mystery built upon silence. No final message. No survivors. No eyewitnesses. Only questions that have echoed across generations. Imagine standing alone on the deck of that drifting vessel. The wind fills the sails. The ocean stretches endlessly in every direction. The captain's cabin is empty. The cargo remains untouched. The food is still stored below. Everything appears almost normal. Except for one terrifying detail. Every single person is gone. More than 150 years have passed since that cold December day in 1872, yet no investigation has been able to answer the question that matters most. What really happened to Captain Benjamin Briggs, his family, and the crew of the Mary Celeste? Maybe the truth disappeared with them. Or perhaps the Atlantic Ocean is still keeping its greatest secret hidden beneath its waves. Until undeniable evidence is discovered, the Mary Celeste will remain one of history's greatest unsolved maritime mysteries. What do you think happened aboard the Mary Celeste? Did Captain Briggs make a tragic mistake? Or is there another explanation that history has never uncovered? Share your theory in the comments below. If you enjoyed uncovering one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next journey into the world's most fascinating historical mysteries. Until next time. Stay curious.